Hey guys, welcome to this video about a 3000 point Beast Herds army for Ninth Age the Fantasy Battles game. So we are looking at different armies below a cost of 150 euros for the different factions. This time it's turn for the Beast Herds and we have a pure combat army this time. So once again I'm showing you new recruit first. So this is a website where you can build your own lists with all the factions available in the game, and then you can put in some units, choose all the different options that you want on the units, and then save the unit, and then you get in the end a nice list together. It also follows the limitations of the lists and it gives you an indication when you go wrong. For Beast Herds I ended up having this list, so Beast Herds, it's a bit of a special one, I would say, because the magic in Beast Herds can be really valuable, but you really have to tailor your list to get full advantage of your magic, I find. And then the unboosted Beast Herd units already have a damage output, normally that is high enough, whilst the magic doesn't really support, it mostly supports the combat even more. So I think at a 3000 point mark, maybe with Beast Herds it's even better to play without any magic. But then again, I'm not gonna say that this list is the best list that you will ever be able to make, because I'm definitely not a Beast Herd player myself, so I don't know that much about the army. I just don't know ways how to get to a nice army below 150 euros. Using models that will still give you flexibility for expanding your army later. So for Beast Herds, we're looking at this list. We have a Minotaur Warlord, who is quite a badass at 3000 points. We have a Beast Lord on a Razor Tusk Chariot. This guy mostly gives in a bubble extra advance for your units. And he is also quite a brick to beat for your opponent with, I believe in the end, like a 2-up or a 1-up armor save. Then we have the Wild Horns. These are your core units. I would always go for paired weapons and throwing weapons, because throwing weapons are quite good. Just in any scenario where your opponent is throwing something on the table that you can't really deal with in combat, throwing weapons are your way to go for Beast Herds, because there's not that much ranged options in Beast Herds. Ambush is really great on one of these units. And then otherwise you have your damage output basically in special with a big unit of 6 Minotaurs and a small unit of 3 Minotaurs, and then the Longhorn Herd. So you could also use the points of the 3 Minotaurs to make your unit even bigger. I think to help you learn the game a bit better, it's better to split them up. And the Longhorns, normally you would play them with a character in there. However, at 3000 points I would think that 30 Longhorns with great weapons are already enough to make most of your opponents quite scared. So what are we gonna use model wise for this army? I would propose to use the Northern Alliance Mega Army from Kings of War. So Beast Herds is quite a difficult army to find suitable models for, because it's it's basically a legacy army from Games Workshop where they used Beastmen. So you can obviously go for the Beastman models. I think a lot of the models are actually out of print now. So that's going to be quite a challenge to get. Moreover, it's going to be quite challenging to get them for less than 150 euros. Whereas this Northern Alliance Mega Army does give you all the models that you need to put this army together. So we'll have a brief look of what's in there. So you have these, I'm trying to zoom in a bit. Can't really zoom in on the picture, but so you have these all these different models in the army. You will have this guy on some kind of mount to be your raiding chariot, Razor Tusk Chariot guy, Lord. You'll have one of these guys as your Minotaur Warlord. They are Yeti kind of models. So you have the one with this big club is going to be probably your Minotaur Warlord. You have the rest for your Minotaurs, and then you have a lot of infantry with different weapons. Don't really get distracted by the color scheme that they chose. Like the contrast between these marauding men and these, for example, is quite big with the color scheme that they chose. However, if you paint them up in the same color scheme, I think they will just fit in quite nicely together. and you will find a way to make it so that it's quite clear for your opponent as well what unit is what unit. So you're gonna have a total of 20 clansmen, 10 ice knights, 10 plastic knights, 10 kin hunters, 10 huskarls, and 10 half-elf berserkers. It's a total of 80 models. So in the army we are using a total of 75 models, so you'll have 5 models to play around basically to see what you want to do with them. I think it's going to be quite a nice start for beast herds, and I think also that Kings of War still supplies sufficient models to expand your army further. I'm just gonna look for the factions. Here we go. So we were looking at the Northern Alliance here. So the Northern Alliance, you have the mega army, you still have a giant available, an awesome chimera. You still have these ice elemental things, more infantry. I think you have quite a lot of flexibility available to you. You also have some tundra wolves, other stuff. Anyway, I think there's plenty of room for expansion there. Now let's go see how it looks on the table in Warhall. So Warhall is a different software that you could use to get started with 9th Age. So basically it's a tool to play online. You can take any army, you can create any kind of model on the table, and you can just play around with it. So normally what you do is that you set up a game with an opponent, and you start to play a game on Warhall just to discover how your army would work. It doesn't have all the rules of 9th Age included in it. However, it does have all the tools that you need to play the game. So you can deal wounds, you can heal wounds, you can move units, you can see line of sights of units like front, flank, and the different ranges. So basically it's a very flexible software to play your 9th Age games online, and you can also use it to discover whether your army is to your liking or not. So currently we have the Beast Herds army plugged in, we have the 2 non-ambush scoring darts basically. We have the ambushing unit, we have the Minotaurs, the big unit, small unit, we have the Warlord. He can also go in one of the units, and then we have the Lord on the chariot and the great weapon guys. So as you can see, it's rendered quite nicely, to be honest. This guy has such a big sword. Look at that thing. But I think the models that they use are quite nice in Warhol. And well, as I said, the software, look at that guy. The software is quite nice to play your games. So that I would say, well, maybe for beast herds, go for the Northern Alliance Mega Army, available from Mantic Games. Paint them up, see if you like it, and then expand further from there. Thank you for watching, and I will see you the next one.